I am working with so many different generations here right now with so much wisdom from every generation that, again, meeting people where they're at and embracing where they're at and learning from another human being. This is how this company rolls. Small, female-owned company. How do you find a company that you're passionate about and you truly want to show up every single day? And it really comes down to the humans that I get to work with. And that's something that I can't trade in.
Welcome to Security Cleared Jobs, Who's Hiring and How, the podcast for cleared professionals looking for new opportunities and career advice. We go behind the scenes with recruiters and hiring managers from leading cleared employers to uncover the information you need to make a smart career move. Get ready for insights from this week's guest and your hosts, Kathleen Smith and Rachel Bozeman.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are and whenever you are listening to today's episode of Security Cleared Jobs, Who's Hiring and How. I'm Kathleen, and things are going great today because I have my co-host back with me. I missed you, Rachel. What's going on with you today?
I missed you as well, and I missed all of our listeners out there, and we are so glad to be here with all of you. But we are also glad to be here with our guests, so don't make them wait any longer, Kathleen.
Today, we're talking with Jennie Sikes, Director of Talent Acquisition and Talent Management at Golden Key Group. Jennie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here today.
Well, we are excited you are here as well. And Jennie, we always like to start kind of at the very beginning of the story and of your story, and would love to hear more details on kind of your career path and how you got that golden ticket to Golden Key Group.
Ooh, I love how you just did that. So thank you for the question. I have been in government contracting and recruiting in our space now for about 18 years. Pretty much all of it has been within the IT, cyber, think analyst, software developers, testers, you name it, been there, done that. And I got to a point in my career where I was like, I want to learn something new. So I'm a big learner, big advocate for learning. And with that, the right opportunity at the right time presented itself. And it really was the golden key for me, right? So not only was I able to come to this wonderful organization, and I'll talk a little bit more about who we are later, but I was able to come to this organization and bring my skills that I have learned throughout all of those years, be it applicant tracking system implementation, seamless processes from first call to first day, working smarter and not harder. But I also, the win-win in all of this is I get to learn. I get to learn more. And I've been really able to dive into a whole other area of recruiting for HR folks. So I put my IT hat to the side for a little bit. I still sprinkle it in every once in a while, but I was able to really learn more about the niche, the skill set here instead. So it just all worked out in a wonderful, lovely way.
Well, tell us a little bit more about this niche that you're working in at Golden Key Group. I mean, what do you do to support the cleared community?
Yes, the niche, it's a little bit different than what I'm used to. I thought, oh, well, HR, that's not going to be hard to learn because I'm in HR. Well, let me teach you something new, Jennie. Federal HR is our niche, and it is substantially different than what you would think normal HR would be because the federal space does things in a very defined, organized, compliant way. They've got SOPs like you wouldn't believe. And then they break it all out by hiring and staffing, by classification, personnel actions, records, documentation, payroll, all of the things that we all need as humans who are working in any corporate function, right? But with the federal space, it's enhanced and it's really broken out. So that was one of those areas I got to learn and really got to connect with HR subject matter experts in the federal space. And it'll blow your socks off, the things that you learn.
Just when you think you know it all.
Right.
Love it. And something I know that a lot of our listeners love to hear a little bit more about are just the different types of security cleared positions or maybe even the job titles that you're currently hiring for.
Yes, absolutely. So we have positions all throughout the United States, sprinkled all throughout the United States, and supporting many, 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 many federal agencies and the military. So I love that. And then with all the different customers that we have different contracts. And those contracts could be public trust contracts all the way up to the top tier of the clearance ladder. So we do hiring and staffing, like I mentioned, classification, benefits, records, personnel actions, but all at public trust on up that security ladder. So at that top tier as well.
And you mentioned kind of all throughout the US, but where specifically are these positions located?
We have them everywhere. Now, if we're going to talk about the higher level cleared ones, right, because we love cleared roles, majority of them are in the DC metropolitan area. I will say, considering the level of clearance and the type of work, we're talking human resources, right? They are full-time on site. I know that folks are looking for that flexibility when you get going in the world here, but when you get higher in the clearance chain, you sometimes don't have that option to do hybrid or remote, but the work is still very interesting and you're always getting to learn and there's career mobility. That's another thing. I am super big on career mobility, making sure that there is a path for each person coming in.
Well, you sort of already answered my question, which was the hybrid remote opportunities. So maybe a little bit lower down on that clearance level. Do you have those opportunities?
Absolutely. So actually, I just hired somebody in Texas, fully remote, supporting our Department of Commerce contract. We've had that for many, many years. It's a great contract to be a part of, over 100 folks. We have folks in South Carolina supporting that contract, all different contracts offering remote and hybrid. We do have some folks in our Landover office, and that's a great office. It's so beautiful. I mean, why not? If you're local, come on in.
In an earlier conversation, when you were sharing some of your goodness and going through all the pre-work here, you mentioned something about emotional intelligence, and that gets me pretty jazzed and pretty excited. So why in the cleared space, especially with your IT background, now you're even moving into the world of HR, and we talk about emotional intelligence, why do you think this is such an important skill for many of our cleared professionals to have?
Oh my gosh. I love this question. And I know that you and I were talking before we popped online about healing and learning and growing and awareness. And as we progress as humans, we learn more about ourselves. We learn more about our community. We learn more about our teams, our colleagues, our boss, our underlings. We learn more about the human that we're interacting with. And with that comes some self-awareness, comes some empathy, compassion, the ability to communicate effectively, meeting somebody where they are at. And that not only is critical as a recruiter, but also in the world we live in at large, right? Meeting somebody exactly where they're at, communicating in a way that they can absorb it and they can understand it. It's kind of like when you write an email, right? And you're responding to an email and you're right? And there's no body language. There's no tone of voice. There's no eye contact. So the person receiving that email, depending on their mood, like, did they drink their coffee? Have they had their tea? Where are they at? We have no idea. So they may read that email or that text in a different way than what you may have meant it, which causes some cross-contamination of communications. But emotional intelligence, it gets rid of that. It's meeting the human where they are at. And a lot of times simply picking up the phone is the best way to do it. It helps with career mobility, team dynamics, interviewing. It helps with interviewing. Oh my gosh. It takes the anxiety out of interviewing if you can meet the person in front of you where they are at.
Great job of answering that, because I think we know that inherently as you become a better leader, a better manager, you sort of know it. But nowadays, we're actually putting a title with it. What we'd really like our audience to understand is, what is the culture at Golden Key Group? Who would be really successful there?
Absolutely. And I'll take it back to one of the reasons I'm here. So when I support companies, I need to make sure that the company is an emotionally intelligent company run by emotionally intelligent people, but also that they have the open-mindedness and the forward thinking and the ability to really embrace the humans that surround. Listen, we're all SMEs in certain areas. If you put me in accounting, I'm going to fail. Put me in recruiting, I'll probably do well, right? But I also recognize, and we as a collective community recognize, that the SMEs that are hired to come in were brought in because of their awareness and their intelligence and their experience. And we respect them as the subject matter area experts. With that being said, we are all inclusive, all embracing. One of the benefits that I really enjoy here is the generations. I am working with so many different generations here right now, with so much wisdom from every generation, that again, meeting people where they're at and embracing where they're at and learning from another human being. This is how this company rolls. Small, female-owned company. Our CEO and founder is absolutely amazing. Open door policy. She takes care of all the folks that she works with, and she really allows you to feel heard. So it's not really one word. That's the thing of it, is how do you find a company that you're passionate about and you truly want to show up every single day? And it really comes down to the humans that I get to work with. And that's something that I can't trade in.
I think there is one word, humans, right? That's such a good way to think of the culture
Humans.
there. You're humans. And that's wonderful.
Yes.
You heard her. You heard her. So I'm just going to break it down for you, kind of recruiter to recruiter. I appreciate that you are passionate, to use your word, about the onboarding process. We've seen them go wrong. We've seen them go south. It hurts your recruiter heart, doesn't it? It just bleeds when it happens there. So could you tell our friends out here why it's so important that starting off on the right foot with a candidate is so important?
Oh, it's critical. I do love this question, and I wish more people would ask this question and receive it. My role is first call to first day. That's my responsibility. And if I'm meeting my human where they're at, be it the candidate, be it the human resources manager, be it the hiring manager, be it the customer, I'm going to want to make sure, as I'm orchestrating and conducting this whole beautiful symphony of a match, of a win-win, I need to make sure it's working smarter, not harder, seamless for my candidate, seamless for the hiring manager. But how do you do that? So very first phone call, the candidate's excited, they're cloud nine, you've built the rapport, it's an authentic rapport that's being created, and they get off the phone, they're like, that's the place I want to work. That's awesome. I want them to maintain that excitement. So I give them those next steps. Here's what you can expect from me. I'm going to call you in 2 days. Good, bad, ugly, doesn't matter. I'm going to call you back in 2 days. You have my word. So I'm showing up. I'm being accountable. I'm maintaining their excitement and their enthusiasm, right? I'm preventing the false realities that a human can go through. The longer that you are sitting in limbo, you start having an internal dialogue. Maybe I didn't sit up straight enough in that conversation. I mean, it could be the silliest of things, but we start creating a dialogue. I want to remove that. So seamless, first call to first day onboarding process. I am walking my folks through the process, letting them know who, what, when, where, why, meeting them each individually where they're at. And again, we go to different generations. Each generation has a certain conditioning of where they need to be and what kind of conversation or communication they should get back. Never ghosting. That's the other thing. Good, bad, or ugly. I'm still going to call you. I'm never going to ghost you. And a lot of folks do have to experience that. And it does break my heart. So anyway, first call to first day. I am your advocate. I am right there by your side. You have my cell phone. We can text if you're comfortable with texting. If not, you pick up the phone. And I'm going to get you from point A to point Z successfully. And orchestrate even like the operational stuff behind the scenes that you would have never even known. But your first day is going to be a beautiful day.
Okay, so this next question is obviously not for you and the folks at Golden Key Group, but we know that this does happen because I've had this happen 1 or 2 times in my career, where you go through all the interviewing and you love everyone and the onboarding is great. And then all of a sudden you're like, maybe I shouldn't have taken this job. Now, be that insecurity in yourself or insecurity with the team that you're part of. From your vast experience and your emotional intelligence, what should a cleared job seeker do if they find themselves in that predicament?
Just as you mentioned, Kathleen, it does happen out there, right? Basic Maslow's hierarchy, having roof over your head and food on table. And if you need that job and you take that job and it was just to suffice, and then you're like, oh, well, wait a minute, what is going on here? Okay, well, yes. But you have to ask, did you give yourself enough time to truly acclimate? Have you given yourself that grace period to get to know your other team members, get to understand them a little bit more on the human level? Have you read through the SOPs? Are they connecting the dots for you? Do you need to ask questions? Nobody can go into a job and just boom, have it all taken care of. We're always learning. So have you given yourself the true grace period to acclimate? Now, if you have, that's when you call your recruiter. So yes, you've got human resources. Yes, they say, first call to first day, that's the recruiter. And then you go over to HR if you have issues, but you still have a relationship with your recruiter, and your recruiter has been your advocate from the start. So if this is not the best match, okay, let's talk about some other opportunities that you may not even know about yet because they haven't even hit the job board. You never know. So give yourself the grace to acclimate, number one. And number two, reach out to your recruiter. It's okay. We're here to help.
Love it. I think that was great. So over your career, you've had an opportunity to work with a lot of amazing talent, a lot of great cleared talent especially. So I'm hoping that we can ask a favor of you and share maybe one or two tips that you would give to some cleared professionals as they're kind of navigating this job search. It's a little scary to be on the other side of the table. So what are some tips that you can give them to really help them be successful in this search or hunt or journey, dare I say?
This is going to be the most simplest of answers, and yet it is honestly the most profound based on my experience. If you go into a phone conversation with a recruiter or a phone interview with a hiring manager or a virtual or in-person interview with a hiring manager, the best way that you can navigate that is to be yourself, number one, and number two, make it a healthy conversation. Because if you're interfacing with somebody on a human to human level, again, we are humans. We are humans, right? If you are actually having a conversation, a two-way conversation or a three-way conversation, and you're putting the other people at ease and bringing down their walls a little bit, you can bring your wall down a little bit and truly get to see and understand, is this going to be the right cultural fit, team fit, position fit? You're going to get all your answers in that conversation, but you got to help break the wall down just a smidge. And let's be realistic. There are interviewers out there, like interviewers, like hiring managers that may not even know how to interview. And they are so scared. They're scared of you. They're scared of you, the job seeker, and you would never know it. They're hiding behind a clipboard. But if you put them at ease and have a healthy conversation, then it's a win-win.
You're right. There are several people out there who are interviewers, but have never been trained, have never been coached. There's a lot of pressure on them to make sure that that interview goes well because they need that candidate to be in that work role because their job is dependent on having a great team. So they're going to have a lot of stress. They're going to have a big wall of how do I make sure that this is going to be great? And they may be putting up a barrier between themselves and the candidate that they did not even know about.
Absolutely.
This has been a fabulous conversation, and I'm sorry to say that we're at the end. How may our listeners follow up with you?
Very simple. goldenkeygroup.com is our website. You can absolutely follow us on all the normal social media outlets, right? LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. You can reach out to me directly through LinkedIn. I do respond back to candidates who are seeking, and I do have a very large network of folks where if I don't have something, thankfully, I do have a vast network of recruiters out there in government contracting world that are awesome, and I'm more than happy to job it forward or candidate forward.
Jennie, thank you so much for joining us, making the time.
Such a pleasure. Thank you.
So nice to meet you.
It was so great to connect with Jennie, and she had so much great energy. And what I really loved her talking about was her onboarding process and the fact that, from the first step of the first call all the way through to the first day, it was her responsibility to check in, follow up, keep her commitments as far as when she was going to get back to people, even if it was good, bad, or ugly information, she was going to do it. Rachel, what did you like about today's talk?
I loved what you just shared because it just does my little recruiter heart good to see people care about the candidates out there. But really, what I appreciated kind of, and the theme just ran throughout the entire conversation, was just the humanity that exists within recruiting and that exists within the organization. And it's just important. And I believe she said, put the human back in human. And it was worthy enough that I wrote it down in black ink. So it ain't going nowhere. I'm going to remember it. And hopefully this was a memorable episode for you as well. Hopefully it was fun too. And what would be more fun is if you caught every single show. Be sure to get out there and follow our podcast on your favorite listening platform so you don't miss anything ever again. Till next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.